You finally get that promotion you've been grinding for. Yes! Your salary jumps from $50,000 to $65,000. And for about 2 weeks, you feel like you've made it. Fast forward 6 months, and somehow you're more stressed about money than you were before the raise. Your bank account looks exactly the same, except now you have a nicer apartment, a newer car, and a subscription service addiction you can't explain. Welcome to lifestyle inflation, the silent wealth killer that's probably destroying your financial future right now. My name is Joe, and I spend way too much time analyzing why people who earn more money often end up broker than people who earn less. If you've ever gotten a raise and wondered where all that extra money went, or if you're making 6 figures but still living paycheck to paycheck, hit subscribe because we're about to expose the psychological trap that keeps high earners perpetually broke. # the math that doesn't add up. Here's a scenario that plays out millions of times every year. Within 3 months, they've upgraded their apartment from $1,000 to $1,400. They've traded in their paid-off car for something nicer with a $450 monthly payment. They're eating out more because they can afford it now, dropping an extra $300 per month at restaurants. They've upgraded their wardrobe because they need to look the part at their new position, adding another $200 monthly. Maybe they're taking better vacations, or they've moved to a trendier neighborhood with higher costs. Add it all up, and that $1,200 monthly raise has vanished into thin air. They're making $20,000 more per year and saving exactly 0 additional dollars. In fact, they might be saving less than before, because now they feel entitled to spend more. This is lifestyle inflation, and it's the reason why people making $100,000 can be just as broke as people making $40,000. # the hedonic treadmill. There's a psychological phenomenon called the hedonic treadmill that explains why raises don't make you happier. Basically, humans adapt to improvements in their circumstances incredibly quickly. That first week in your new apartment feels amazing. By month 2, it's just your apartment. The novelty wears off, but the higher rent payment doesn't. This adaptation happens with everything. Your new car feels special for maybe 3 weeks. Then it's just how you get to work. Your upgraded wardrobe stops feeling like an upgrade and becomes your baseline. That fancy coffee you now buy every morning, instead of making it at home, it goes from treat to routine in about 2 weeks. Here's what makes this really dangerous. Once you've adapted to your new lifestyle, cutting back feels like deprivation. You're not going back to your old apartment because that would feel like moving backward. You can't downgrade your car because what would people think? You've locked yourself into a higher cost of living that matches your higher income, which means you're no better off financially than you were before the raise. # the status escalator lifestyle inflation isn't just about buying more stuff. It's about constantly moving up an imaginary status ladder that has no top. Now you're looking at people making $80,000 or $100,000. Your new coworkers at your higher position have nicer things. You're in different social circles where the baseline level of spending is higher. Suddenly, your perfectly adequate car looks shabby compared to what everyone else is driving. Your apartment seems small. Your vacations seem boring. This is the status escalator, and it will bankrupt you if you let it. Because here's the thing, there's always another level. Make $100,000. Now, you're comparing yourself to people making $150,000. Make $200,000. There's someone making $500,000 who makes you feel poor. This game has no winning condition. The only way to win is to refuse to play. # the corporate conspiracy. Here's something nobody wants to admit. Lifestyle inflation serves the interests of your employer perfectly. When you upgrade your lifestyle to match your income, you become dependent on that income. You cannot afford to quit. You cannot afford to take a risk. You cannot afford to negotiate too aggressively because losing your job would be catastrophic. Companies know this. This is why they dangle promotions and raises as the ultimate carrot. They're not just paying you more, they're buying your compliance. Once you've upgraded your life to match your new salary, you're trapped. You've given up the financial flexibility that would let you leave for a better opportunity or start your own thing. The person making $50,000 and saving $15,000 per year has more freedom than the person making $150,000 and saving nothing. The high earner looks more successful, but the modest earner has options. They could quit their job tomorrow and survive 4 years on their savings. The high earner would be in financial crises within 3 months. # the invisible creep. What makes lifestyle inflation so insidious is how gradually it happens. You don't wake up one day and decide to blow your entire raise. It's a series of small decisions that individually seem reasonable but collectively destroy your wealth-building potential. You're making more money now, so you upgrade from economy to premium gas because your car deserves it. That's an extra $20 per fill-up, maybe $60 per month. Doesn't seem like much. Then you're at the grocery store and you stop buying the generic brands because you can afford the name brands now. There's another $100 per month. You get a few more streaming services because another $15 here and there when you're remaking good money. You start ordering delivery instead of picking up takeout because your time is more valuable now. You buy the slightly nicer version of everything because you've earned it. None of these individual decisions feel significant, but they add up to hundreds or thousands of dollars per month in increased spending that perfectly matches your increased income. The emergency fund delusion. Here's a particularly cruel aspect of lifestyle inflation. People think they're being responsible because they maintain the same emergency fund they had before. Wrong. Their expenses have increased so much that 3 months of emergency savings now requires way more money than it used to. Plus, they've increased their financial fragility in ways that aren't obvious. When you're locked into a $2,500 apartment and a $600 car payment, you need to earn significantly more just to tread water. Your margin for error has actually decreased, even though your income increased. The person making $50,000 with low expenses could survive a job loss by taking almost any work temporarily. The person making $100,000 with high expenses cannot take a pay cut without their entire life falling apart. They've increased their income but decreased their resilience, which is backwards. The investment opportunity cost. Let's talk about what you're actually giving up when you inflate your lifestyle instead of investing your raises. Say you get a $20,000 raise and you invest that extra income instead of spending it at an 8% return. That's $1,600 per year in investment gains from that one raise. After 10 years, you've accumulated over $300,000 from that single raise. After 20 years, it's nearly $1 million. But most people don't do this. They take that $20,000 raise and immediately increase their spending by $20,000. 20 years later, they have nothing to show for it except a more expensive lifestyle that they can't afford to downgrade. They traded $1 million in future wealth for slightly nicer stuff now. This is the real cost of lifestyle inflation. It's not just that you're spending more money. It's that you are giving up the compound growth that money could have generated over decades. Every dollar you spend on lifestyle upgrades is a dollar that can't work for you. And when you're upgrading your lifestyle year after year as your income grows, you're sacrificing enormous amounts of potential wealth. The golden handcuffs. There's a term in corporate America called golden handcuffs. It refers to the situation where someone is paid so well that they feel they can leave their job, even if they hate it. But golden handcuffs aren't really about high pay. They're about high spending. Someone making $200,000 who spends $195,000 is far more trapped than someone making $80,000 who spends $50,000. The high earner needs to maintain that specific income level to support their lifestyle. The modest spender could take a 50% pay cut and barely notice. Golden handcuffs are self-imposed through lifestyle inflation. I know someone who makes $180,000 per year and is absolutely miserable at his job. He has been trying to quit for 3 years, but couldn't because he is locked into a $4,000 apartment, an $800 car payment, private school tuition for his kids, and country club membership. His high income hasn't bought him freedom. It's bought him an expensive prison. Meanwhile, I know someone else making $65,000 who quit his job last year to start a business because he had low expenses and substantial savings. His smaller income bought him more freedom than the six-figure earner's larger income because he didn't inflate his lifestyle when his income grew. The solution nobody wants to hear. Here's how you actually handle raises. When you get that $20,000 increase in salary, you pretend it didn't happen. You keep living on your old salary. That entire raise goes straight into investments or savings before you ever see it. You set up automatic transfers on payday that sweep the difference between your old take-home and new take-home into investment accounts. This requires almost inhuman discipline because our brains are wired to reward ourselves when good things happen. You got a raise. You deserve to celebrate by upgrading something. But this is exactly the moment when you need to resist that urge. The raise is the reward. You don't need to buy stuff to celebrate the raise. If you absolutely must increase your spending, use the 50/50th rule. If you get a $1,000 monthly raise, you can increase your spending by $500 and invest the other $500. This still allows for some lifestyle improvement while forcing you to bank half of every raise. But honestly, even this is a compromise. The wealth-building move is to invest the entire raise. The peer pressure problem. One of the hardest parts of avoiding lifestyle inflation is dealing with peer pressure from people who are inflating their lifestyles. When your coworkers are all buying new cars and taking expensive vacations, there's intense social pressure to keep up. When your friends suggest expensive restaurants or activities, saying no feels awkward. This is where you need to get comfortable being the person who doesn't participate in lifestyle inflation. You're going to look less successful than your peers in the short term. They're going to have nicer stuff than you despite making similar money. Let them. In 10 or 20 years, you'll have real wealth while they're still living paycheck to paycheck at a higher income level. The secret that wealthy people understand is that looking rich and being rich are usually mutually exclusive, at least in the wealth building phase. If you're spending money to look successful, you don't have that money to invest. You have to choose between the appearance of wealth and actual wealth. Most people choose the appearance and wonder why they never get ahead. The identity trap. Lifestyle inflation also creates an identity problem. When you upgrade your lifestyle, you start identifying with that lifestyle. You become the person who lives in the nice apartment or the person who drives the luxury car. Your stuff becomes part of your identity, which makes it incredibly hard to downgrade later if you need to. This is why people fight so hard to maintain lifestyles they can't afford. They're not just defending their spending, they're defending their identity. Admitting that you can afford your lifestyle feels like admitting that you're not who you thought you were. So people go into debt, drain their savings, and make increasingly desperate financial decisions to maintain an image. The healthier approach is to keep your identity separate from your spending. You're not defined by where you live or what you drive. You're defined by who you are and what you do. When your identity isn't tied to your lifestyle, you can make rational financial decisions without feeling like you're losing part of yourself. The bottom line, every raise you get is a test. It's testing whether you understand the difference between income and wealth. Most people fail this test by immediately increasing their spending to match their increased income. They end up on a treadmill where they're making more money, but building zero additional wealth. The escape from lifestyle inflation requires you to fundamentally change how you think about raises. A raise isn't permission to spend more. It's an opportunity to invest more. It's a chance to build wealth faster, to achieve financial independence sooner, to buy yourself options and freedom. So next time you get a raise, don't ask yourself, what can I afford now? Ask yourself, how much faster can I build wealth with this extra money? The answer to that second question might be the difference between working until you are 70 and retiring at 45. Choose wisely.